Good morning, students. My name is Yildash Vatsivara. I'm your writing teacher. So today's our new theme is lesson 30, writing process descriptions, outcomes. Recognize the correct organization of a process description. Identify the key components of an effective introduction. Describe each stage in a process correctly. Write an appropriate conclusion. Process description. A general step-by-step description of how a process happens. It doesn't tell the reader what to do, but describes how something happens. Consists of 4 main parts. Clear title, the first one. Start with a clear title that precisely states the topic. Start with the word how. How a wind turbine generates electricity. Example. And second part is introduction. So, there will be definition, intended audience, prior knowledge, brief overview, spatial conditions, definitions, and preview of stages. Definition. What is definition? In definition part, you should write about, start with a definition of the process you are describing. Intended audience. Explain the intended audience and the purpose of the description. Prior knowledge. Mention any prior knowledge the reader will need in order to understand the description. Brief overview. Provide a brief overview of what happens during the process. Spatial conditions. Mention any spatial conditions that are needed for the process to happen. Definitions. Give a definition of any ambiguous terms that reader may not know. Preview of stages. Mention any spatial conditions that are needed for the process to happen. There is given an example. You can see, you can read it. If you read it, let's go. So the first part is called definition. And second, audience. Third one, spatial conditions. Fourth, overview and spatial terms. Last, stages. Stages in the process. Each stage is a process in itself. The description of each stage should be miniature process description. Definition, spatial conditions, process, sub-stages. Definition. Start with a definition by explaining the overall change or effect of the stage. Spatial conditions. Mention any conditions that are needed for this stage to work. Example, what should have happened in previous stages. Process. Give a step-by-step explanation of what happens during the stage. Substages. If the stage is divided into substages, discuss each one in turn with a separate subheading. Always describe the stages of the process in the chronological order. Converting. Example. If you have read, let's go. Use sequence words to show the orders of events. So, in this given, a sequence of words as, then, next. Conclusion. It consists of summary and complete cycle. Summarize the description by reminding the reader of the stages. Complete cycle. Go through one complete cycle of the process by briefly describing what happens at each side. This given conclusion. It consists of two parts, if you pay attention. The first part and second part. If you have read, let's check. So, the first part is called summary, and second part is called complete cycle. Review. So, writing a description of process consists of four main parts. The first one, you should choose clear title, then introduction, and you should write about stages in the process, and at the end, conclusion. Let's revise some. So, introduction. So, main parts, we talked about it. Clear title. Stages in the process. Conclusion. Conclusion consists of two parts, summary and complete cycle. So in summary part, you should summarize the description by reminding the reader of the stages. In a complete cycle, go through one complete cycle of the process by briefly describing what happens at each stage. So dear students, it is the end of our video lesson. As a home task, you should write you should choose any process, and you should write you should write about the description of a process. You should pay attention these four main parts. You should choose clear title. You should write about introduction, stages in the process, and conclusion. So lesson is over. Goodbye.